What's up, Night Owl? Still here back with another Candlekeep video, and today we're going to be having a look at Sara of Yellowcrest Manor. And as always, I've got some brand new maps for you. All you need to do is join the Discord, set your role to Dungeon Master, go to the Dungeon Master resources, and the maps will be there. And just a real quick note, some of this adventure takes place in Waterdeep, and there's some really good maps in the Waterdeep Dragon Heist adventure that you could use here, particularly the Waterdeep map. But there's a few others that I will mention. And also, you may want a random encounter map for the city streets of Waterdeep. And if I make one, if I remake it, or if I make a map for the city streets, I'll put that in the Discord. Otherwise, I will leave a link down below to the map that I personally used. And if you want to see me stream these adventures live, I do stream on Twitch. Link is down there in the description. It'll be Monday through Friday. You can come by, see me make mistakes live, and any corrections that I make to the adventure. You can ask questions directly. And yeah, just come on by. The link is down there. Otherwise, let's get to it. So the premise of this adventure is that the party meets a ghost of a servant of a noble house that was murdered by the noble house's, the father of the family. And the father is a cultist to an elder god, some extraplanar deity that's super evil, and he's building a cult that's going to try to take over the world and bring this Lovecraftian creature into the world. And he murdered his entire family and all the servants. And the party happens across a ghost of one of the servants who will inform them. And also the party will find their journal, which is the book that this adventure starts in. It's the title of the book is Sara of Yellowcrest Manor. And this is the journal of the servant that was murdered. And this is sort of where the party will find the information and start following the clues. The journal itself belonged to the servant named Sara, and she at first started using it to learn how to read and write. She was being taught how to read and write by the mother of the noble house of the Yellowcrest family, and eventually she started treating this book as a journal. And it's at the very end of the journal that the party will find out about this evil ritual that the father was trying, that Vialis Yellowcrest was performing, and she actually talks about in the journal how she's worried that she may have been discovered while she was sneaking around in the mansion. And since that's the final journal entry, the party may start to get the feeling that something may have happened, since they are dealing with the ghost of Sara right here in front of the book. Now, I've run this adventure 5 times, and I've tried several different methods of getting this quest in the party's hands each time. And I think my favorite is to get rid of the ghost completely. In one example, or in one of my games, I had the ghost able to talk. By the book, the ghost cannot talk. Her tongue has been removed, so she just kind of points and plays charades. In one great game, I actually had it where she could talk. She explained everything, gave all the details. And in another game, which was my favorite way of going about it, is just have the book give the information. Don't worry about the ghost. Just have the journal that belonged to the servant kind of give the party the exposition. So they read the book, you can fill them in. And as far as the information that you want to give them, you want them to know you want them to have the location of the Yellowcrest Manor, the location of the businesses, and obviously you want them to know that all of this takes place in Waterdeep. If you want to eliminate the travel, and I'm actually going to have a whole separate video on this, if you want to eliminate the travel aspect, you could have the portal coordinates or a teleportation circle set up in Candlekeep and in Waterdeep, and you can have the means of setting those up in this adventure. That way the party could just take the teleportation circle within Candlekeep. Maybe you could put like what I did personally was put the teleportation circle behind the Emerald Door, and when the party gained access to the Emerald Door, they also gained access to the teleportation circle. And I did this around chapter 4, but you can do this whenever. Again, I'm going to do a separate video on that, but as far as travel goes, I had it to where there was a teleportation circle set up in Candlekeep. That makes sense. And then Waterdeep has a teleportation circle. That's by lore. And the party can just teleport from Candlekeep to Waterdeep. If you don't like that method, that's fine. You can do an overland travel, but it is a pretty long trip. And you may want to set up random encounters. You may want to skip it. I personally went with the teleport method, but you also have to justify having a teleportation circle in Candlekeep, bypassing that whole book turn in. That's up to you. If you choose to cut out the ghost Sara and just have the journal, you may also need to cut out Vecin, who is Sara's love interest. I never really cared for that particular part of the adventure, having Sara and having her love interest, and then the party investigating in Waterdeep, meeting her love interest, and then him running off to Greenfast to face the cult. That was kind of a subplot. And if you have a good bit of time, if your sessions run longer than a 4-hour session, you can keep that part in, keep some of those prisoners. But I personally cut out Veckin and Sara, and I was okay with that sort of linear path. But as always, do what you're comfortable with. The sessions that I kept Sara in, I kept Veckin in, were fine. They were just sort of kind of meh to me, so I just cut them out. If you have an interesting idea for these NPCs, by all means, keep them in there. Now, as far as the Waterdeep section of this adventure, there is a great map in Waterdeep Dragon Heist of the entire city of Waterdeep. I highly recommend that you Google a map of Waterdeep or pull that one from Dragon Heist and use that, as it's much more visually appealing to have the entire city there instead of just you arrive at the city and maybe give them some artwork or something. The book doesn't provide anything with Waterdeep, and it would be great to have a map. And I'll go into more detail why that may be important when I start talking about the mansion. There will be several locations that your party will want to visit when they arrive at Waterdeep. They may want to hit up the businesses that belong to the Yellowcrest family, and you can use the same map for the first business that they decide to investigate. By the book, there is no map. I grabbed a City Streets map again. I'll put that in the description, and if I remake one, I will have that in the Discord. But have a City Streets map that's right outside of the business. That way, if the party decides to investigate the business, they can meet Faye Earl. Now, by the book, it says that Faye Earl visits Waterdeep every 10 days. That's a bit of a stretch of time. If you want the party to hang out in Waterdeep and just kind of be there and go sightseeing, again, the book provides nothing for Waterdeep, so you're going to have to fill in these blanks on your own. More reason to grab that map and look at Waterdeep Dragon Heist and read all that information about Waterdeep and sort of fill in the details of the yawning portal. If you don't do that, then I would just have Faye Earl visit daily or maybe once a 10-day. But however you want to do that, have Faye Earl showing up the day that the party investigates. That way the plot can move forward. This is what I did for several of my games after trying out the 10-day thing. And then if you want the party to hang out in Waterdeep and wait on Faye Earl to show up, you're going to need to prepare for that. Otherwise, just have Faye Earl show up the day that the party is investigating. Whichever business that they decide to go to, the business owner, you can have an NPC for the business owner, explain that Faye Earl comes and collects the money and that Vialis the Yellowcrest no longer stays in Waterdeep, they stay in Greenfast. Once the party finds out this information, they may want to question Faye Earl, at which point the business owner will tell them, Faye Earl should be by sometime today or tomorrow if you want, and he will be collecting the profits. There you go. The party can have that interaction with Faye Earl. This interaction with Faye Earl can lead to a combat, and you should definitely plan for this because the beginning parts of this adventure are already kind of are scarce on combat. There's a lot of investigating, not a whole lot of action. And if you're running the kind of party that likes action, you can make Faye Earl a little more mouthy, kind of push the buttons of the party to kind of goad them to attack. You know your party better than I am. If you want to get them a combat going, this would be a great spot. You can put some loot in here as well. But if they're more roleplay heavy, they can skip over that or just not have a combat here. But you should prepare for it because even by the book, it says if the party wants to question Vialis, which it's very likely that they're going to ask Faye Earl about Vialis and to ask him questions, at which point Faye Earl will run away and tell his guards to attack the party. These guards are no joke. 2 cult fanatics and 2 veterans. These cult fanatics have hold person, which will paralyze a target if they fail a wisdom save. The tactics that these guards are going to use will be hold person on a party member with a low wisdom score, and then the veterans will run up and swing. And if they're paralyzed, that's advantage and automatically crits. They're going to focus fire, and it's going to be rough. And one more thing to note, when the party investigates Faye Earl, they're going to learn about Greenfast, and they're going to want to pay Greenfast a visit, more than likely, so that they can track down Vialis. If the party goes to the manor instead, the Yellowcrest Manor, and talks to the butler who is in the book and kind of tells the party that Vialis Yellowcrest sold his mansion 5 years ago and moved to Greenfast. I've had 2 of my 5 groups not really accept that answer and decided that they wanted to explore the mansion. What I recommend for this is there is a mansion called Growlhoon Villa in Waterdeep Dragon Heist. I would recommend, what I did was pulled that map from Dragon Heist and just used that villa as the map for the party that wanted to explore the manor. I actually had 2 groups do this, and they were really adamant about exploring this manor. They put in a lot of resources, breaking the arcane lock, going invisible, waiting until nightfall, getting in there and exploring this manor. If you have a party do this, don't be afraid to just cut Greenfast completely out of the adventure and move the temple below this manor. It's really easy to just kind of weave in that it's all a front and that there was a big lie about going to Greenfast. You can just put the temple right here. That way the party will actually feel rewarded for putting in a lot of effort. That's what I did for one of my groups. They wanted to explore the compound, and I didn't want it to just be a dead end after putting in so much effort. So yeah, just move the temple beneath the manor if the party puts in the effort. Because the journal describes a ritual that was being performed within the manor that Sara caught Vialis performing. And if the party wants to investigate that area, let them, and then you can put the temple beneath the manor. If you decide to do this, or your party decides to do this, and you want to fill out the time a little bit more, and you're worried about maybe not hitting that 4-hour mark for your one shot or the single session that you run this adventure, you can put the combat with Faerl's guards, the 2 vets, and the 2 cult fanatics and the 3 thugs. You can put them as guards right here in the villa, and if the party tries to break in, they have to sneak past these guards and risk alerting them and starting the combat there. You can easily move the Faerl's guards here and have that combat take place here, and that can kind of help you fill out a timer if you're worried about you're worried about the session not lasting long enough. And I don't think that's really an issue with this adventure. This is a pretty lengthy adventure. There's a lot of fluff in here. I actually made a lot of cuts to it as I went through after I tried different things. I actually made a lot of cuts to this one, like the prisoners in the temple and Vecin himself. So gauge the time, take a look at the clock, get a feel for what your party's doing, what your party's going, and go from there. Now, I will make note of Vecin here for the DMs that did want to keep him in the adventure and did decide to put Vecin in the journal. Vecin is Sara's love interest. She kind of had a crush on him while she was a servant at the Yellowcrest Manor, and Vecin went on to become an adventurer and like a distinguished soldier. So if the party decides to investigate with him, he's got some information for them, but he will play it off like he has no interest in investigating. And then when the party turns their back, he's going to take off to he's going to take off to Greenfast and to the temple and start trying to do it on his own. He will get captured, and the party will find him in the prison cells when they start searching the temple. There are 5 locations here at Greenfast: the mayor's house, the tavern, Vialis' house, Fey Earl's, and then the barn. These are the marked locations. Obviously, there are residential homes throughout this area that you can fill in yourself. The mayor of Greenfast has a sister who joined Vialis' cult and is currently a prisoner at the bottom of the temple. And the tavern owner has a son who is currently a prisoner at the bottom of the temple. The party can learn this if they visit these locations. I didn't have a party that was really interested in the mayor. I had a few parties that decided to stay the night at Greenfast and meet with the tavern owner and have a few words with him and talked about Vialis. The people in Greenfast know of Vialis and know about his family and how they were murdered, but they will tell the party that he sort of keeps to himself and that he is in the process of reconstructing an old tower right outside of town. Location 3 and 4 are Vialis' house and Fey Earl's house. And if the party decides to investigate these, they're not really going to find anything of interest. As a matter of fact, if they investigate Vialis' house, they're not going to find anything but like a kitchen. And I decided to put a bed in there in case the party wanted to stay the night in Greenfast. They could stay the night in Vialis' house to sort of keep guard in case Vialis comes back. But the party will learn that Vialis doesn't use this house. He instead stays at the temple. Now, Area 5 is the barn, and this is where the party may get into combat if they go snooping around Greenfast. There are 2 cult fanatics and 2 veterans. Same tactics as Faerl's guards. The cult fanatics are going to drop the whole person to lock somebody down with paralysis while the veterans beat on them. The cult fanatics also have spiritual weapon if they can get the jump on the party, or if you have a pretty wisdom heavy party. Spiritual weapon's a solid option, a solid opener. They can get better action economy if they summon spiritual weapons. They can just go get those free attacks in while they try to cast whole person on the party, so the veterans can get their their advantage and their automatic crits.
Area 1 is the antechamber. Here the party will find 2 Grells and 4 cultists by a fountain in the far end of the room. If the party isn't being stealthy when they descend the staircase, they will hide along the walls and wait for an ambush. Area 2 is the Arcane Study. This is where Lord Vialis studied magic, and you can find his spellbook here. If you have a wizard in your party, this would be a good opportunity to give them one of the new spellbooks from Tasha's Cauldron. There's 2 cracked drift globes on the north wall with a pitfall trap beneath them, and a secret door to the south which can be found with a DC 15 perception. Area 3 is the dungeon access. A single cult fanatic waits at the top of the stairs here, and if they hear the sounds of combat in Area 1, they will run to alert the rest of the dungeon. Area 4 is the office. There's a desk here with books, trinkets, and business-related paperwork, but there's nothing really of interest here. Area 5 is the symbol workshop. This area contains wood carving tools which the cultists use to carve wooden symbols that mark membership of the cult. There are 50 newly carved symbols here, hinting at the cult's plan to expand. Area 6 is the study. Here the party will find a bookcase with a collection of debased literature, dark mythology, studies of aberrant magic, and mad treatises on elder gods. This collection is worth 300 gold pieces, or it could be turned in at Candlekeep. Area 7 is the Dark Chapel, and this is where the party will encounter Lord Vialis and his minions, all performing a ritual to their elder god.
This fight is no joke, and I actually have some design issues about this particular fight. Anyone who's ever played in a video game or any kind of game where you get stunned and you can't do anything, take for example rogues in World of Warcraft, they get stun lock, or that obnoxious poison in Arc where your character just falls and you can't do anything, you're just staring at the screen until the poison wears off. There's a lot of mechanics like this in video games, and I can't stand them because they lock you out and you can't play the game. The reason I bring all this up is because these cult fanatics use Hold Person, or have the spell Hold Person on their spell list, which paralyzes the target, and the Grells have poison, which will paralyze the target. Now, the DC is low, but with 3 Grells and 3 cultists, possibly more, this entire fight has just creatures hitting the party with paralysis, which is an incredibly obnoxious mechanic because you're basically making it to where the players can't play the game. Now, this may be a point of debate. Some people may not agree with me, but I would adjust their spell list a bit and get rid of Hold Person if you have the time and if you have the willingness to adjust the spell list of these cultists, of these cult fanatics, because paralysis from Hold Person and paralysis from Grells will just be like all these wisdom saves that the party's going to suffer. Somebody's going to get paralyzed and somebody's just going to lose their turn, and that's not really fun. And again, this could be a point of debate, but I personally would recommend, this is my recommendation, that you change the spell list and at least get rid of Hold Person and just have them open up with their spiritual weapon and then maybe some other second level spell. Or they could save their Hold Person to lock down somebody who uses a concentration spell that's particularly dangerous, like haste or slow. They could save their Hold Person and just use that to stop a concentration spell. That would be one way to handle it if you don't feel like adjusting spell list. But keep in mind just how unfun paralysis is, being paralyzed and not being able to play the game is. And then look at the amount of creatures in this fight that have paralysis on their stat block. Whoever wrote this adventure and wrote this particular encounter did not like their players. Once Vialis joins the fight, he's going to open up with a Cone of Cold, and that is going to hurt. That is going to do a ton of damage. It will almost certainly drop someone, maybe even 2 people, depending on your party's makeup and their HP totals and just how they ended up in the situation. Vialis' Cone of Cold, it may get counterspelled, so maybe give your party a break and kind of try to use it to where he's positioned inside of your spellcasters. At least give them a chance to counter it. If you're mean, hit them with the Cone of Cold and just take on the responsibilities. If you have a pretty pet heavy party like Necromancer or Beastmaster, if you have just somebody with like animated objects, just a lot of pets running around, you can lock those up with a Cone of Cold and you can clear the battlefield a bit. But keep in mind, this Cone of Cold is going to hurt, and he's going to follow it up with fireballs.
Area 8 is the Secret Vault, and it's here the party will find 2 chests containing loot from the prisoners in Area 11. And this includes a longsword, 2 daggers, and some jewelry. If for some reason your party is captured, their belongings will end up here in this chest. Area 9 is the secret library. This is where the party will find the remains of the Yellowcrest family, and they will learn of a very dark ritual that Lord Vialis was performing using the urn as a spell focus. Area 10 is the ossuary, and this is where the party will learn about a ritual that the cult will attempt to perform that requires hundreds of victims. If you feel like flavoring this room up a bit more, you can add a puzzle from Tasha's Cauldron to make it a little more interesting. Area 11 are the cells, and this is where the party will encounter the prisoners that the cultists have kidnapped, including the mayor's sister and Veccan from Waterdeep. Area 12 is the Acolytes training room. This area is where the cultists train new recruits in spellcasting. There are 3 cultists here and 1 cult fanatic, and the book recommends adding 2 Gricks if you want to make the encounter a little more challenging. One of these recruits is young Fargo, the son of old Fargo, who runs the tavern in Greenfast. Among the scrolls on the floor, the party can find a very valuable spell scroll of Counterspell. And finally, Area 13 are the sacrificial remains. This is where the bones and ash are deposited from Area 7.
And that's it for Sara of Yellowcrest Manor. Hope you enjoyed the video, and if you did, you know how YouTube works. Hit those buttons, leave a comment down below. Let me know what you thought of this adventure. Let me know if you agreed with my changes or whatever changes that you decided to make. Let me know down there in the comments. And if you want to be a part of this D&D community, make sure you join the Discord. Link is down there in the description. Come by, ask questions, let me know what you think. And as always, I'll see you at sundown.